Come on now, you don't just throw away 25 years lock, stock, and barrel. I gotta tell you something right now. As a mature single, I'm a single woman. You know what I'm saying? I would ask, well, you know what? You all can say what you want and you're entitled to. You know, I certainly say what I want behind closed doors. But I will tell you this, you know, we do have our son and he is away in college and he's home right now. If you're wondering why I'm hanging out so much with him, he's home for college break. He sees me, he sees his dad. I go out a lot because I am a good time girl. I like to have fun.
For 16 years, Sharina Hudson was living good on Wendy Williams' talk show money. A $765,000 Morristown mansion, Kevin Hunter bought her 10 miles from Wendy's front door. An $80,000 diamond, Honduras vacations, a whole vegan brand, the entire fantasy. And now drama pages are alleging that November 2025 sent Shireena the invoice on all of it. Kevin dumped her, the business flopped, and insiders close to her are claiming she's out here in Florida applying for food stamps. Sit down, let me get into it, because the beginning of this story is just as messy as the ending. Shireena was 21 years old in 2007 when she showed up at Wendy and Kevin's blackout party in New York, a whole married man's house party, and she walked right into it. Then, in the early 2010s, Charlemagne Thaw God introduced her to Kevin under the pretense of mentoring her modeling career. Mentoring. That's what they're calling it now, apparently. Kevin was 14 years older than her, married to the biggest woman in daytime television, and Shireena slid right into the seat like it had been reserved for her the whole time. By 2015, Kevin had bought her a 3,500 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath mansion in Morristown, New Jersey, $765,000 paid in cash, sitting just 10 miles from the actual marital home he shared with Wendy. That ain't cheating, sis. That's a whole second household, set up like a franchise location, with its own address and its own life running quietly in parallel to the one the public actually knew about. And when Wendy eventually found the address, she didn't just sit with the information. She went and looked at the house herself. Beautiful place, 3-car garage, and by her own account on air, she pulled out spray paint and wrote Kevin and Wendy Forever right there on the property. Petty? Absolutely. Understandable? Also absolutely. Meanwhile, Shireena kept traveling on Kevin's dime, including a trip to Honduras that happened while Kevin and Wendy were still legally married. Wendy clocked that one on air too, saying flatly she didn't want to hear about how Shireena helped or supported him on a trip she was never supposed to be on in the first place. Because again, they were still married at the time. And it gets darker than just an affair. Kevin's own sister, Kimber Hunter, went on record saying Shireena had multiple pregnancies before Journey that she was reportedly pressured to end. That's not a rumor from a blog. That's his own sister saying that publicly. Then, March 22, 2019, Journey Hunter is born to Shireena and Kevin. Wendy filed for divorce almost exactly a month later. And here's where this story stops being tragic and starts being legendary. Because Wendy didn't just file in a panic. She planned this thing out like a heist. She told SiriusXM she'd actually known for years, but she had to get her ducks in a row because her son was still living at home, and it wasn't fair to him to blow the whole thing up before she was ready to handle the fallout properly. When she finally did move, she knew Kevin would try to dodge the process server the second he caught wind of it, so her team got creative. They put the divorce papers inside a Balenciaga box because Kevin loved his gifts, loved his designer packages showing up unannounced. He pulled into the driveway of the New Jersey house, the process server said "delivery for Kevin," and he signed for it without thinking twice. And then, you've been served. That is not a woman who got played and found out last. That's a woman who watched the entire play unfold in real time, took her notes quietly, and waited for exactly the right scene to make her exit. But here's the part that stings the most for Shireena specifically, and it's the part people tend to skip over. She spent a full decade living in the shadows of this relationship, completely out of the public eye. And it wasn't her own choice that dragged her into the spotlight. It was Wendy, on air, in front of millions of viewers, on January 27, 2021, during a segment of Hot Topics. Wendy narrated Shireena getting out of her car with my money, wished baby Journey a happy almost 3rd birthday on national television, and greeted Kevin all in the same breath, sarcasm dripping off every word. Shireena had absolutely no platform to fight back in that moment. She had built an entire decade of her life around Kevin and around staying invisible, but the woman holding the microphone was always going to be Wendy. That's the piece nobody really wants to say out loud when they talk about this story. For years after that Hot Topics moment, Shireena mostly stayed low-key, occasionally popping up in paparazzi shots or brief blog mentions, but never really building her own independent public identity the way you'd expect someone in her position to try to. She leaned on Kevin's money and Kevin's connections, instead of building something that could survive without him, which honestly should have been the first red flag for her, because Kevin himself had already shown everyone exactly what he does once the money dries up. Now fast forward to November 2025, and honey, the girls have officially found out. Wendy won in court against Kevin, who was trying to get his alimony reinstated after it had been cut off. The judge denied the request outright, but left the door open for mediation down the line, which probably explains why he's reportedly still out here telling people how broke he is. And right in the middle of that court news, drama pages are reporting that Kevin has dumped Shireena completely, scrubbed her off his Instagram like she was a typo he was embarrassed by. The Morristown mansion? Gone, according to reports. Her vegan food brand never actually took off commercially. Her luxury athleisure line, Vish NYC, never gained real traction either. Because here's the truth Shireena apparently never wanted to face head-on. None of it, not the brand, not the business, not the influence, was ever going to work without Wendy's platform sitting behind it the whole time. Now she's reportedly rebranded herself on Instagram as a Florida real estate agent, a vegan chef, and a homeschool mom, basically a full resume rewrite from scratch. And insiders close to her are claiming she's applied for public assistance just to feed 6-year-old Journey. I'll let y'all fight about the specifics of that particular claim down in the comments, but the streets are definitely talking about it. Meanwhile, Wendy herself has actually been under a legal guardianship since May 2022, and that's a big part of why so much of this ongoing story keeps getting told secondhand, through leaks and drama pages, instead of through Wendy speaking for herself directly. Longtime fans have pointed out that years of her old show footage mysteriously disappeared from YouTube, her social media accounts went quiet, and there's been real, ongoing confusion online about why an entire legacy of content simply vanished right around the time her health struggles became public knowledge. She's reportedly not in a position to fight that particular battle herself right now, since she's focused on getting herself stable. But drama pages are alleging that people in her camp have been quietly leaking details to outlets on her behalf, since she can't speak up directly herself, including resurfacing Kevin's own September 2024 interview where he publicly called Shireena his family. Where's that family energy now, baby? Because he scrubbed her off his page faster than a bad hair color decision. And here's the part that's genuinely making everybody's jaw drop online right now. The guardianship, the exact thing everybody originally assumed was Wendy's biggest defeat, might actually be the very thing that ended up saving her from all of this mess. Because the second Kevin lost meaningful access to Wendy's money, Shireena's entire usefulness to him dropped straight to zero overnight. He used Wendy for 22 years for the checks that kept rolling in. He used Shireena for a solid decade for the youth and everything that came with it. And the minute the checks actually stopped coming, so did the affair. That's not love, whatever anybody wants to call it. That's a business model, plain and simple. And the business went bankrupt. Now, word going around is that Shireena is actually threatening Kevin with what people online have started calling the Wendy Williams evidence, receipts she reportedly kept, apparently for years, documenting his double life, receipts that could genuinely ruin him if they ever made their way onto the internet. The side chick turned into the star witness, honey. And if even half of what's being alleged is true, Kevin picked the absolute worst possible decade to burn every bridge he had left, because now he's got two women who both know exactly where all his bodies are buried. So tell me, is this the universe finally cutting Shireena her karma check after all these years? Or was she really just a 21-year-old who got groomed by a grown, married man twice her age, which would make Kevin the only actual villain in this entire story? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me what you really think, because I already know this comment section is about to be a whole courtroom. Hit that like, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.